Alex, Norwich tomorrow. They've not had a great run. They're under a lot of pressure, it seems, from the fans, and the manager's under pressure too. We've done well away from home. How do you see this game panning out?
To be honest, like most games in the Championship, I think at the moment, irrespective of what fixture you look at, I think it's going to be boiled down to who plays well on the day. I think form book this season seems to go out the window. I don't think it matters whether you're playing top of the league, bottom of the league. I said this before, the Championship's such a tough league. I don't think there's runaway teams this season. I think Fulham last season were by far and away the outstanding team in the league. For what I've seen so far, I don't think there's not a number of the type of teams in the league this year. So I think every game's up for grabs. I think we are more than capable, as we've already shown, of beating anybody in the league. But we need to make sure there's a level of consistency to our play.
They play a more expansive game than some teams have played against us recently. We seem to be getting a lot of possession. People are conceding possession to us and then hitting us on the break. So do you feel this game will suit Stoke more?
I certainly think that Norwich are going to come out, try and dominate the ball as they do. They'll have their style of play which they've got in terms of trying to open the pitch up, be creative, create opportunities and chances. I think it'll be much more an open game than what we've faced in the last couple.
Our strikers could do with a goal. I know you've said it's not just the strikers. They've got some prolific goal scorers this season, which you're going to have to be careful about.
Yeah, I think if you look at their personnel, I think Sargent in the league's get 8, I think Pookie's get 6, and then beyond that, I think the next one's 1. So, yeah, we know where the strengths and weaknesses are. We know the strengths and weaknesses of every opposition before we play them. It's knowing it and then obviously try to make sure that you don't make any errors or mistakes within the game. And if we can get to that point, we give ourselves a good chance.
You're looking forward to going back there?
Yeah, it's always nice to go back to an old club. I had fond memories there. To get promoted to the Premier League as sort of young as I did in my career, and managing the Premier League for that club was a special memory. And to be fair, they were the club that really gave me my chance in England. So, I'm very grateful for that.
So a bit of a soft spot, really.
I've always got a soft spot for the teams that I've been at, because I think to manage anywhere, you need to feel what the club's about. You need to be invested in it. And while you're there, everything about the club is the most important thing to you. You've got that. That's, I think it's the only way certainly that I can do it. And at every club I've been at, I'm fully invested in everything that's going on.
Harry Souttar playing and getting, I think, a full set of minutes. That must be good news and be a bit of a lift.
Yeah, it's good. I think that obviously we've got a few weeks now until the World Cup break. I think the aim for Harry and for everyone was he'd be back as soon as he can be. I think the World Cup break, providing Harry's okay, will be a good thing for him. Hopefully he can be involved with us before we get to that point. We've still got 5 games remaining. And then I think for that point of view, providing he's okay, I'm really hopeful that he can go away with Australia and get himself up to max speed even better, so when he comes back he's ready.
So it'll be like his pre-season?
Kinda, yeah, because obviously he's been out for a long period of time, but he's made really good progress. But at the end of that sort of period now, where it's just about getting minutes and making sure that we top him up and get him ready. So I watched him last night. There's a game again on Monday. He'll start again on that, get another 90 minutes hopefully under his belt, and then from there we'll see where we go.
It was obviously disappointing last 2 home games. How's training gone this week, and how's the morale in the club? Yeah,
good, because I said this before when I came in the building. I've got to separate performance from result a lot of the time, because if you get the processes right, eventually the results come. I think if you look at the games in isolation, the Rotherham game really, we shouldn't even have drawn that game. We should have won that game quite comfortably. And then I thought, in Coventry, for the first half, I thought we were outstanding. I just think that we didn't carry as much a threat as we would like. There's certain elements we need to improve. But I think our control of the game, our setup's been really good. I think we've dominated. But ultimately, football's about scoring goals. So that's the side we need to try and improve on. What I will say is, irrespective of any of the teams that have got a lot of creative quality and all the rest of it, we did very, very similar to Burnley at Burnley. And if we didn't make an error that day, arguably I don't think Burnley score. So I think it shows how difficult it can be to break that sort of low block down. From our point of view, I think the biggest disappointment is the mistake we make for the first goal. Because really at that point, I don't think Coventry had anything at our goal throughout the whole game at that stage, and then we make an error, and ultimately at this level that costs you.
It's difficult, particularly for supporters, not to get caught up in the emotion of the game, especially when you go behind.
Yep.
But you've got a lot of young players in the team. How do you ensure that their heads don't go down?
Players are not stupid. Do you know what I mean? They're smart in terms of they understand if they're playing well or not. You know, I think there's one thing that if you're not playing well and you lose, I think you come off the pitch maybe a little bit disillusioned, a bit disheartened, because you're thinking, we're not playing well and we're losing. I think when the performance levels are what they are, what you do and recognise as a player is if you continue those levels, results will come your way. Do you know what I mean? Because like we went to Hull, for instance, and won 3-0. We played considerably better in both the home games that we lost, considerably better. But ultimately, football's a results business. Do you know what I mean? And people want to get results, they want to win games. I fully understand that. I've got to, for the team, I've got to come away from that a little bit, because I don't know how many games I've had now, 10, 11, whatever it is. So this is really just the start. But I've seen massive progress for the lads in terms of what they've done, and I firmly believe that we'll do well this year. Do you know what I mean? And the Championship's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You know, so we're at the stage now. I think from Burnley onwards, I've seen massively encouraging signs as far as where we're going, what we're trying to do. So we just need to stick to it.
We talked, I think it's about 2 or 3 press conferences ago, about the fact that the break's coming up, and you said if Stoke were playing well, you wouldn't want the break to happen.
Yeah.
If they weren't playing so well, you'd want the break to happen. When you look at the table even now, and you've talked about consistency, the margins are so small that if you had a good run in these last 4 or 5 games, you could still be up there.
Yeah, that's the aim. You know, we want to be in the top half before the break. Do you know what I mean? I think that every other team will be saying the exact same. We need to put a couple of results together. We need to make sure our performance levels remain what they are. We need to be more threatening in front of goal. We need to make sure we eliminate mistakes. So there's loads of factors in there that we need to try and make sure we're good at. See, football, it never ends in the fact that if we go and win the next 3 games, your questions will be, can you keep this consistency up? It never ends. Do you know what I mean? So irrespective of whether we're doing well, we've lost a game or won a game, it's what happens next, and that never changes. So we just need to keep going. We need to keep buckling down, making sure that we're doing the right things. I think this run of fixtures for us is going to be really important. What I do think as well is, obviously, I think we brought something like 10 players in the summer, a lot of which were brought in after the season had started, which isn't ideal. We've got 6 loan players as well. So I think people have got to listen. I'm not telling people how to view the team or the squad, but the point I'm making is, though, a lot of these, like you say, are younger players. A lot of them have never been together, and really now we're starting to get to a point where I think we're getting they're starting to gel, and I think it's a matter of time until we put a good run of results together.
Thanks for giving me the question for when you win the next 3 matches. But finally, are you just going one step at a time?
Of course I'm. That's the way you've got to work in football, because when you plan too far ahead, like, I hate setting targets, because if you set targets too much, what happens is, if we go, right, we need 10 points for this set of games, and then you get 7, I mean, what do you do? Oh no, we haven't reached our target of 10. Do you know what I mean? The next game is the most important game. We've got to go and try and win the game at Norwich. I think every game that I've had since I've been here, we've tried to win. I think Burnley's probably the one that we went and made sure we were solid first, and then obviously try to hit them in the counter, which I thought worked on the day. But I think every other game we went after the game.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I think it's obviously the expectancy in Norwich is they should be there or thereabouts, and alright, they're not possibly forcing their way as they have done in the previous seasons, but certainly there is a big expectancy level. Do you see any changes the way that Dean Smith, the current incumbent at Norwich City, has changed from the previous manager?
Yeah, I think they're different. I think their players are different as well, naturally, so that makes it even more difficult. But if you're thinking Norwich, and I'm sure the Norwich fans will think in Norwich, they'll think of guys like Buendia and guys like that in their prime. You know, Pukki, who's still top player at this level, but a couple of years ago where he was getting away from people and he was running beyond. And don't get me wrong, he's still doing it now, but naturally as you get older, I mean, then you're not going to be as sprightly as you once were. But yeah, they've got good players. I think their style is different from what it was before, and I think that they've suffered with a couple of injuries. What I will say about it is, there's a few seasons ago where I remember going down there. Might have been Daniel Farke's second season, and I took Preston down, and if we beat them that day, the rumours were going about that he was heavily under pressure that day as well, and it just shows you how football changes, because for that moment onwards they went on a great run, and I think they got promoted that season. And that's the difference in football, it changes so quickly. You know, you think about our conversations after Preston, we're all talking about how many wins can we put together, and then you lose a game and then it's all of a sudden, when you're going to win the next game. You know, so it changes all the time, and that's why you can't be too high when it's going well and you can't be too low. Dean's an experienced manager, he's managed the Premier League, managed at this level with Brentford and now with Norwich. He knows what he's doing, so he'll be focused on making sure they get a positive result, as we will be.
Is there many of the personnel left within that squad that you know?
Yeah, I know a lot of the players. I mean, just having came against them. Max Arns was a young kid coming through the academy when I was there. Todd Cantwell's another young kid coming through the academy when I was there. So we brought Adam Idle over for Ireland. So yeah, there's quite a few guys that are still there. Certainly in the backroom staff as well. I still know a lot of the people there.
From your point of view, you just said, like you alluding back to last Saturday when you played Coventry, your possession of the ball, you had an awful lot of it. Is that one of the factors that you are enjoying your team doing now?
If I'm being honest, I enjoy winning more than anything. I'm not bothered whether I have all of the ball and little of the ball. I think the difficulty we've got at the moment is we need to turn possession into a positive thing for us. You know, I'm fully aware of all the stats in terms of where we are. I think once this season when we've had more of the ball, we've won. The other 6 times we've had more of the ball, we've lost.
Is that the vital ingredient now then, Alex, that you need that clinical finish? And although you are creating into the last third, you're not getting it yet.
Yeah, I think that's a key part. But if you look at all the best teams are capable of having the ball, working the ball, and making sure they damage the opposition. They don't need to give the ball back to them and say, right, you have it because we don't use it well. Do you know what I mean? And that's the last thing I want to do, is say, right lads, what we'll do is kick it back to them and then we'll run about after it and try and get it back. What we've got to do when we've got it, we've got to damage the opposition. And like I say, like the last game, I think we had 70 final third entries. The game before that, we had 30 shots at goal. So it might be sometimes we might need to bring down the quantity of that to make sure the quality is better. In terms of maybe making that extra pass, staying in the ball a little bit longer, a little bit more composure, a little bit more quality on the cross. There's loads of things to go into it. I couldn't turn around and say it's one thing, if we do that we're going to win. That's not the case.
You say it's more of a level playing field, you feel, the Championship this time round, whereas you already alluded to, there's no one team at this moment in time making a surge away.
I think if you just look at the results, I mean, I think the results speak for themselves. I think that the teams at the top end of the division at the moment have got guys who just now are impacting games in moments. You know, if you look at the Coventry games, a prime example, I thought our players were very, very good. But the boy Hamer has 2 moments in the game, doesn't he? He has one moment where he slips a pass through and the lad scores, and the next moment he cuts inside 2 of our defenders and puts it in the far corner. They moments are not tactical based. There's nothing tactical about that. There's nothing structural about that. It's just a moment of quality and a mistake from our point of view. So that sometimes at this level, that's what decides matches. That's how fine the margins are.
A large Stoke following making the trip tomorrow, but judging that Norwich haven't won in their last 6, I think they won any of their last 3 home games, they can travel hopefully, can't they?
I think Stoke fans can travel hopefully anywhere we go. You know, because I think on our day when we're playing well, I think we're more than capable of beating anyone. You know, and naturally we've had a couple of disappointing results. I think we're all frustrated and naturally disappointed with that. As fans, they pay their hard-earned money. They've got the right to voice their opinion and displeasure and what have you. I'd like to think that they've seen a shift in the players in terms of how they've went about their work. I think their attitudes have been first class. I think you can see the disappointment in the players when we don't win. And I think we're making good strides forward. And obviously, we want nothing more than when you're travelling all the way to Norwich as a fan, and the expenditure and the time that costs you, that we want to go and deliver a good performance and deliver the points.
Out of interest, when you were Norwich manager, did you find that teams would come to Norwich think, oh, this is an easy touch, this is it doesn't have the same atmosphere, or did you sort of...
Well, no, because we got promoted, so
exactly.
Didn't find it easy then.
But they didn't come at you thinking, you didn't come at you with a sort of like an attitude, did they, at Norwich? It's a difficult place for teams to play.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on how well the team's doing. You know, I think the fans get behind their team, certainly down there. And I think that certainly my first 6 months there, when we were extremely strong, I think that teams came and to be honest, a lot of them were beating the tunnel before we even started the game. You could see they were looking, thinking, this is going to be a tough game. And I think sort of prime Daniel Farke years there was very similar in terms of when teams went down there in that period, they looked at the team and thought, we're in for a tough game. But results and performances dictate that, don't they? And the only reason people look at Norwich at the moment is because of the last few results. However, they're still more than capable of beating anybody in their day at this level.